Hi everyone, welcome to week 2. We'll be talking about licensing and distribution this week. So I like to think of licensing as how publishers really make their money. You folks may remember from your last class that when you create a work, you're vested automatically with 5 rights of copyright. And you may recall what those rights are. They include the right to reproduce the work, distribute the work, make derivatives, perform the work publicly, and display the work. So let's take a look. Each one of these are capable of making the owner of the copyright, in this case the publisher, a great deal of money. You can, for example, license individually one of these works either on an exclusive or a non-exclusive basis. You can package a number of these rights together, or you can sell all of them in one shot, such as what we would call a master use license, or in the case of a musical or an operetta, what we would call a grand rights license. So we've got different media licenses. We've got print, reprint licenses, foreign language licenses, derivative licenses. You might start out, let's say, with a character brand. Harry Potter, for example, starts out as a character in a book, goes through multiple derivative licenses. We now turn it into adaptations, movies, video games. There's character brand merchandise, Halloween costumes, and toys, and it just kind of doesn't end almost. So it's very, very clever use of licensing in this situation. As I mentioned, licenses can be granted on an exclusive or a non-exclusive basis. Exclusive being that the license is only going to one party for a particular period of time. Non-exclusive meaning you can sell multiple licenses to as many parties as you wish. Publishers tend to prefer non-exclusive licenses. For example, if we own a piece of music and this month, I don't know, 400 people want to perform it publicly. Great, we'll happily sell 400, non-exclusive licenses to all of them. 300 entities want to make a derivative or an adaptation of it. Fantastic, we'll happily sell all those licenses too. And meanwhile, we'll also be reproducing and distributing the work in the form of making copies of it, whether downloads, digital copies, or hard copy versions of it. Now, there's a number of different music licenses possible out there, and I'd like you to please take some time, read this in the text. But just to summarize them briefly, we've got mechanical licenses. This is when somebody wants to do, let's say, a cover of a piece and want to go into a studio and make a mechanical reproduction of it. And this can be anything. This can be a DVD or a ringtone or a CD or even vinyl, music boxes, jukeboxes. Anywhere where the music is mechanically reproduced such that a human being does not have to sit down at an instrument and physically play it. And Harry Fox administers those kinds of licenses. We also have performing rights licenses, the kind administered by ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC. If someone would like to do a live performance or a broadcast or a transmission of another person's work, they would then seek a performance license. This would include performances of radio, television, concert sound systems, and so on. Print right licenses. Printing used to be publishers' major source of income hundreds of years ago when they were printing and selling a lot of sheet music and books on the music side, for example. Today it's only about 10% of their income, not very much. There's also licenses possible for synchronization rights. Sync rights are when you take music, for example, and you synchronize it with an audio-visual work, such as putting music in the background for film, television, commercials, jingles, documentaries, and so on. I mentioned grand rights. Grand rights, you want to think musicals, think Broadway, think Cats or Phantom, or operatic performances. And then finally, foreign rights with sub-publishing, where you've got a sub-publisher in another country who's working to get these different types of rights for you in that other place. So as I mentioned, we've got Harry Fox that administers mechanical royalties. ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC administer performance royalties. And then for digital streaming, Sound Exchange or Songtrust administer license rights for those. So if you are an artist or you are a composer or producer, your own publisher, and you have music, you definitely want to join these different agencies so that you can get money coming to you when your work is being performed publicly or covered or streamed or what have you. So by statute, mechanical royalty payments are set according to a statutory rate. Right now it's about 9.1 cents, although these numbers are subject to change in the future. Mechanical licenses are also subject to compulsory licenses, meaning the publisher and songwriter must permit a recording of the song if they've had the benefit, first of all, of selecting the first party to make a recording. Basically, if you own the work, you can select who's going to record it first. But then after that, if anybody wants to do a recording of your song, so long as they pay you the license, you must grant them the right to perform it. As far as your license too, this is the only type of music license that's actually set by statute. You could pull your calculator out, and how you compute it is, let's say a label wants to they want to release 10,000 units, 10,000 copies of the song. They would then pay 10,000 times 9.1 cents per unit. You could literally calculate it to determine what the license would be. So a quick comment that sometimes people also think that registering their content with a performing rights organization such as ASCAP, BMI, or SESAC, or the Songwriters Guild, or whatever, will protect their copyright. I just want to remind everyone from your law class that registering your work with a Writers Guild or a PRO is not the same as registering it with the Copyright Office. If you need to or wish to sue somebody for infringing your work, you have to get into federal court to do that, and the only way you can accomplish that is if your work has been registered with the Copyright Office. So there's no way around it. Registering with the Songwriters Guild or a PRO is helpful as evidentiary proof, but it won't get you into court. Okay. We've got a couple different types of distribution models out there that I'll talk about briefly. And again, please, folks, do read the text. Read the individual chapters. This is only a summary. But essentially, we have three types of distributors. One-stop distributors who service big box retailers. They're called one-stops because, for example, if they walk into a Walmart or a Target, if they do one deal, the store will usually buy hundreds of thousands of units in that one visit to service hundreds or thousands of their stores all over the country. Then we have rack jobs. In this situation, the distributor, on behalf of their client, is going to rent or lease out either shelf space or rack space or some dedicated space within the store in which the manufacturer can display their products. The store will facilitate this. They'll obviously bring the floor traffic, the customers, they'll check out the item, they'll do an audit, and they'll do refunds, exchanges, and so on. But a lot of products are actually in stores, not because the stores bought them, but because they're in there on a rack job. The manufacturer, as I say, is paying to rent out the space to put their items there in the store. A couple things quickly too. If you do work with a distributor, they'll ask for a fee. Distributors usually charge a commission in the area of anywhere from 10 to 60%, depending how hard or easy it is to sell the product. They'll also expect you to come up with a steady supply of product and print media support, as well as things called POPs. These are point of purchase items such as posters, flyers, cardboard cutouts, things like that. And also distributor one-sheets. A distributor one-sheet is, it's basically a single sheet of paper. It's like an 8.5, 11 piece of paper that gives information about the product. We see these a lot in the music industry. For an album, for example, there'll be the cover art for the album, the track listing, the distributor's information, key selling points, and so on, all found in this one sheet. The one sheet's basically a sales flyer that the distributor can give to a manager or a purchasing agent or whoever who says, you know, what is this new product? I've never heard of it. Oh, well, here's the one sheet that will describe it. Okay. there are two main distributors for entertainment media content. If you go to the store and you see books, magazines, CDs, DVDs, and so on, your library as well, they're likely purchased through two main wholesalers. Baker and Taylor is the first one. They were recently bought out by Follett, by the way, and Ingram is the other. These two wholesalers service the majority of entertainment media content, and most retailers, most institutional buyers, such as libraries, government, the prison system, so on, will purchase their items from these two wholesalers. Okay, and here's a quick video about how the supply chain works. I ask you please watch that. And here's some different methods of how an item might go from a manufacturer to a consumer, or from a manufacturer to a retailer and then the consumer, or perhaps first to a wholesaler, or the most complex scenario, the manufacturer has sales to a wholesaler, also has a jobber or a distributor working for them, and then a retailer might purchase from either one and then ultimately sell it to you and me, the customer. This is kind of a fun video on Amazon. If you want a virtual tour through an Amazon distribution facility, take a look at this video right here. Okay, folks, at this point I'm going to stop. I'm going to make a second video for this week. In that video we will cover how music distribution works. We'll see some more about one-sheets, and I'll also talk about film distribution to theaters, also called exhibitors. Okay? So I will see everybody in our second video for this week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.